Hi everyone, it's Miss Olson, and I am going to show you how I'm adding color to my art material still life today. So when we're drawing in art, we normally work from general to specific, but we're actually going to skip over color because we're doing a watercolor resist, and we're going to move to the details, outlines, and textures first. Now, normally we go from line to shape to color, then value and texture, and space. We're going from line to shape, skipping over color and moving to value and texture first and outlines. And the reason for that is when we have our paint brushes next week, we can just paint this all in blue. 1 second. So we don't want to spend any time coloring today per se, but we are going to look at our still life and we are going to make sure that all the pencil lines are covered and the details are there. So we have two different materials. We have our Sharpies and our color pencils, and you are going to be able to find the realistic color. I thought that was going to be a blue, but find the closest realistic color you can. So here's a blue, another blue that I have the choice of for this color right here for this brush is my color pencil. Whichever one's more similar is going to be the one you're going to want to go with. Next time, we're also going to have oil pastel to find tints and shades a little bit more before we start painting. But the key is looking at the object, finding those textures, finding the tints and shades, and the details. So you can use Sharpie. For example, my brush has a lot of little lines in it. So I'm going to do first my pencil lines on the brush. I'm not coloring it in black because you want to see the different values. I'm finding the lines and the details of it so that next week I can paint this gray and this black or a darker gray. Now, these pencil lines, even though that object's going to be gray, I still need to find either a black or gray Sharpie or color pencil because pencil lines are not going to be in our final artwork. So I have a gray Sharpie I could use right here to finish those lines. And I also have a black color pencil. Either one will work. And we're finding all of these details. So the brush is done. I'm going to move on to finding the color for the other brush. This one looks almost exact, perfect. I'm going to start with my outline. And then I'm going to move to the details. So if something's shiny, then it's going to have like tints and shades on it. So this little line that I'm adding, or these lines, kind of speak to the texture of the shininess. Same thing with a wood grain. It's going to have kind of like long lines on it. Look for all those details because those details are what matter. So again, I'm not going to color in the paint tray. Now with white, we can use white oil pastel next time too. You can either find a gray art material or use the white color pencil. But it's not going to stay with the pencil lines. We're either going to use a white oil pastel next time or a gray today, which is, I know, is a little tricky. So I'm now going to find my colors for the paints and fill those in. I'm going to start with that brown. I'm not going to color the whole thing in because we're painting next time again, and we want different values in there. There's actually a shininess to it. Orange. And then a brown. Draw everything you see. Now, don't forget about your table line behind the object. That's something people forget about sometimes. And also your texture on your table. So my table is going to be painted, and I want to make sure I have that texture. Next, we're going to be looking for our values. So I'm going to use my black color pencil here. I'm going to outline this with gray and press lightly for the gray. And then I'm also going to be finding the tints and shades on this color pencil tray. So it's not fully white. It actually has some gray details. So I'm going to carefully just shade some of that gray in, which we can do more with the paint too later. But I'm finding these details and values. So look at everything you see and draw everything you see. The same thing, these little colors have another outline on it, so I'm adding all those details. Draw everything you see. Don't forget anything. All right, so behind your artwork, you could add some more details. You could add some type of window out to a certain scene. I like to show that we're somewhere tropical. You could also add a picture frame in the background if you want. Your picture frame could be showing your favorite food, an artwork that is your favorite artwork, anything you want in your random picture frame. Totally up to you. So I'm just gonna sketch with my pencil first, a little palm tree here. And again, you can add more details today as you go. So I drew a palm tree, and I drew one of my favorite artworks I ever did, which was a crab painting with two crabs on top of each other to signify not just my favorite art materials, but one of my favorite artworks. And what you do is up to you in your window and your picture frame. Remember, the last step is finding any shadows that you see underneath of something. So if something gets really dark, like underneath this watercolor tray, that's a shade that we can find and just add that really dark area underneath, because that's going to be harder to do with the watercolor. If it gets darker around the edge of the brush, again, that's a shade that we can emphasize and add. Same thing with underneath of this brush. That's a shadow that we can add underneath of here. So find your tint shades, details, and outlines today with Sharpie and color pencil. Don't forget your name and class code on the back, and have an amazing art class. I'll see you next time.